After gaining through proficiency in all the postures, exercising control over the senses, consuming moderate diet, the aspirant should follow the instructions of his guru in the breathing exercises known as pranayama. When the breathing is unsteady, the mind is also unsteady. But when the breath is steady, the mind attains steadiness. Then it will give a long and healthy life. Therefore, the yogi should practice pranayama. How can the breath wander? We can understand this verse only when we realize that it is not the physical breath that is meant here, it is the prana. This confusion is due to the problems of translation. The original Sanskrit pranavayu is here translated as breath because in English there is no word for prana. Sometimes it is translated as air, other times as breath. Because of possibilities of confusion such as this, a guru is necessary. Mind is like a tree and breath is like the wind. We can't see the wind, but when we see the motion of the tree, we know that the air is disturbed. It is the same with thought. When the prana is disturbed or unsteady, your mind is so disturbed that you cannot sit quietly in one place. In the extreme case of a madman, the prana is so very disturbed that it is not being channeled properly. Neither afferent nor efferent currents are moving correctly and the motor or sensory nerves are out of control. Then thought and body actions are completely out of control and one talks, moves and laughs completely inappropriately. This also happens to all of us in different degrees whenever our minds are not completely steady. When breath wanders. The important thing to understand here is the prana and mind are interconnected. The Pradipika says that one should restrain the breath. But you all know that if you do that literally, you won't live long. Again, we see that we must translate breath as prana. When this prana is regulated so that it becomes rhythmic, then breath also becomes rhythmic. We can watch the physical breath to learn how the prana moves. From watching the leaves on the tree, we know whether the wind is from the north or from the south, whether its speed is 8 knots or whether it is stormy. Similarly, by watching the physical breath, we can tell a person's mental condition. This is one of the principles upon which lie detector machines are based. When you do pranayama, you are regulating the impulse coming to the diaphragm in a proportional way. That is 1:4:2. Impulses are always going from the brain to rest of the body. As for example, when I move my arm, you cannot see the impulse, but you can see the motion. The muscle is controlled by the mind, which sends the impulses through the nervous system to the muscles. It all depends upon thought, as it is thought which controls the impulses. By using the physical breath, you are regulating the impulse of prana and of apana as well. Then with contraction of Mula Bandha, you are trying to stop the impulse from going to the sexual and lower organs. You are bringing the energy up. You shut off the prana not only by holding the breath but also by touching the chin to the chest. By putting pressure on various nerves, you control the cardiovascular system, the heart rate and the respiratory rate. When you put pressure on the Mooladhara chakra by pressing the anal sphincter muscle with the heel and by sitting over that area, you are putting pressure on the Kanda, the place where all the nerves are joined. This presses on the apana, forcing it up. The prana is forced down by the chin lock. In this way, these two impulses are joined together. That is called Hatha Yoga, the union of Ha and the Ta. We need to apply physical pressure as well as to employ the mind and the breath. Breath, thought, and body are all employed. Then, with all three together, you get full control. It is said that if you are very advanced in Raja Yoga, you don't have to go through this process. An advanced Raja Yogi is one who can control his thought. Once you do that, you control everything, prana and the body. But such a person is very rare. An advanced Raja Yogi has full control over the emotions: lust, anger, greed, hatred, jealousy, envy, fear. Most of us need to practice Hatha Yoga in order to get to Raja Yoga. The yogi is said to live long because he regulates the impulse coming so that the breath slows. In proportion that breath slows, life is prolonged because then energy is burned up more slowly. Catabolic and anabolic activity both go down, one is balanced, and so youth is maintained for a long time. Till such time breath stays in the body and one is said to be active, the moment breathing stops, death ensues. So one should practice pranayama. Again, he is not talking about the physical breath, but about prana. When the nadis are full of impurities, the breath does not enter the middle nadi, the susumna nadi. Then, how can one achieve the goal of entering Unmani Avastha? Modern people who read such things may think that the author is making a ridiculous statement. He knows nothing about physiology or anatomy. How can breath possibly go into the nadi when everybody knows that it goes only into the lungs? But if you again translate breath as prana, as I have explained, then you will understand such things properly. What are the impurities mentioned above? When you eat the wrong food, when you drink or smoke, the nervous system is loaded with impurities, creating resistance. At that time, if you do pranayama, the prana will not go into the sushumna. If the breath does not go into the sushumna nadi, then there is no attainment of the object. What is meant by that? The object is the union of ha and ta, the union that will lead to stillness of the mind. When the mind is still, Raja Yogis say that seer sees himself. He sees himself as I am. Unmani Avastha is Hatha Yoga Samadhi through control of the prana. In Raja Yoga, the same state is called Asamprajnata Samadhi. In Jnana Yoga, it is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi or Turiya. In Bhakti Yoga, it is called Bhava Samadhi or self-surrender. All are in the same state. During Unmani Avastha, the breath stops and the mind becomes so still that you see the self. Avastha refers to a state of the mind. In this state, there are no more waves, that is vrittis, in the mind because the prana is no longer working through the Ida and Pingala. So long as the prana operates through these nadis, there will be physical breathing and life force, emotions and thoughts. Ordinarily, we cannot stop this. It stops only when the prana goes in the sushumna so that Ida and Pingala are dead. Then they are like a wire without any current. When all the nadis, which are very impure, become purified, only then the yogi attain mastery of pranayama.